So lists like these are just a tiny glimpse of the rising anti-Semitism we have worldwide nowadays. And joining us now to discuss more of it is Hen Mazzig, Senior Fellow at the Tel Aviv Institute. Hi, Hen. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks so much for having me.
So, Hen, it's safe to say that anti-Semitism is almost rising into the mainstream as it's rising immensely all over the world. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, I mean, it's the numbers of hate speech and anti-Semitic incidents are at all-time high in America. It's really dangerous and really scary. I mean, we speak with people at the Tel Aviv Institute that influencers that are afraid to speak about their Jewish identity. We're seeing people that don't want to put their menorah and Chanukiah out during Hanukkah because of the hate speech that we're seeing. Incidents are happening over and over again. The head of the FBI was saying that he's really concerned about the situation of Jews in America. So all of this really is alarming. And I was talking to one of our researchers, Dr. Becker at the Tel Aviv Institute, and he said that it really reminds him a lot of the research that is done before the Holocaust. There's really similar pattern on the hate speech that we're seeing. And I don't want to be an alarmist, but the Holocaust did not start with gas chambers. It started with hate speech and dehumanization of the Jewish community. That's what led to it. And I think that's what we are seeing today. And that really is alarming. And I think that people and leaders have to start taking action to prevent it.
How can you explain the timing? I mean, what's so different now that it's actually at its highest?
Yeah, I think, well, I said it before that I think that if Hitler had a Twitter account, probably way more Jews would have been killed in the Holocaust. And I think that in the age of social media, when people are allowed to give freedom to some of their darkest beliefs and darkest thoughts about hateful thoughts, specifically about the Jewish community, because we know that the Jewish community are often scapegoated to everything that is wrong in societies. And I think that really allows anti-Semitism to spread, and for people that would otherwise think twice about spreading those ideas to actually share them because they see that there's other people like them out there. And I think social media is really a big part of it. We are right after a pandemic, and the economies around the world are still recovering. That means that there's a financial difficulty to many people, and all of this together is really what makes people discuss these issues and speak about these issues and be more radicalized in their hate speech. And I think that's what we are seeing. This is why the numbers and the fear is so great, and that's why violence and acts of hate are. I mean, just a few weeks ago, we saw that there was a graveyard in America that was vandalized with swastikas in a highway in LA. People were holding signs saying that Kanye was right. Of course, Kanye West and the hate speech that we're seeing that is becoming more mainstream. If people would feel more ashamed about their anti-Semitism today, Kanye West, in every interview that he gives, is spewing anti-Semitic BS, and it's really what we're seeing that is going on. That he's really inciting a lot of it with his comment, and is being emboldened by white supremacists. And unfortunately, even former President Trump has met with him. So all of this really accumulates to the hate speech and the violence and attacks that we are seeing these days.
Speaking more about Kanye and other active anti-Semites who Trump is meeting with, how do you explain that? I mean, he was president before, will be running again in 2024. Isn't he worried about losing many Jewish supporters who are already so critical of him now? And why would he do that? I mean, what's the thought behind it?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know why he would do something like that. I do think, and that's something that probably many of your viewers would agree, that former President Trump, only cares about himself. Even when he moved the embassy or when he said that he loves Israel, it was always conditioned. There was always a condition to his support. It was always about himself. And I think even in this case, he doesn't think about anyone else but himself. And when he speaks about Israel, he speaks to a white Christian audience, and he knows that this is his voting bloc. And I think that also meeting with Kanye West and Nick Fuentes and white supremacists that is openly spread anti-Jewish ideas and saying that he's an anti-Semite. For former President Trump to do that is really telling that his strategy or the target audience for his next election campaign is going to be these communities of white supremacists, of neo-Nazis in America that would probably be mobilized and more engaged in voting because they are so hateful. It's scary. It is,
It definitely is.
really a dangerous time.
It definitely is. And well, the world, the media outlets, etc., are focusing mainly on like punishing, firing, and creating lists like these we saw, choosing anti-Semites in the world, instead of really addressing problematic views, trying to educate people and maybe change their minds. Do you think we're addressing extremism and anti-Semitism the right way these days? And if not, what else can be done?
We're not. And it's something that we're saying at the Tel Aviv Institute all the time. All those inflammatory headlines, all those articles that are not doing anything, are not educating people about anti-Semitism, are not doing any favors to our community. And I see also many Jewish voices online that instead of explaining why something is anti-Semitic, will just, post something saying Kanye is an anti-Semite. Right, he is an anti-Semite, but let's really break it down for non-Jews to understand. It's not our job. We shouldn't be tasked with this labor, but we are in a point that we have to do it. We have to explain and educate the world about anti-Semitic tropes, about the Holocaust, that third of American young folks don't even know what the Holocaust is, or challenge it. So all of this has to come into effect and into our hands, and we have to act to make sure that the future generation will not grow with not knowing what anti-Semitism is. And with social media, it's going increasingly towards a place that is very dark for our community, and we need to be very vigilant in this fight.
And you're right with everything you're saying. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.